بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. It's really indeed a great pleasure for me to be here to address such a distinguished gathering, and I very much thanks the organizer for giving me this opportunity. What I'm going to speak about is the risk, sustainability, and the participatory financing. I will start by defining what do I mean by the risk I'm talking about and the hindrance of the risk. Then how do we move ahead, and some experience from the National Commercial Bank, the bank I'm working for, and a concluding remark. What I'm going to, in the definition, as all of you know, that participatory banking here, it means the Islamic banking in general. To some, participatory is the musharaka and mudaraba, but what I'm going to talk about is in the general understanding of the participatory banking as the Islamic banking as a whole. Risk and reward is a DNA of the Islamic banking. Risk and reward is norm, if it's conventional or Islamic or whatever behavior that we do. In Islamic banking, risk is encouraged to be minimized if possible, but not to be totally eliminated and get a reward. Islamic banking encourage that and actually prefer if there is ways to control and minimize risk. And also, it is very important to be a fair player, transparency, justice, and trust between the all parties. This slide shows the different types of risk. Some of it, or most of it, is normal risk that is not only for Islamic banking, but for both conventional and Islamic banking. But what differentiates the Islamic banking and the feature of the risk in Islamic banking, it is we have to have an asset ownership if the transaction require an asset ownership. The Sharia issue is very important. Sharia has a risk if the organization is not implementing the Sharia risk. It has also, we show some risk in the changes in the fatwas sometimes, and we saw the effect at one time of the changes in fatwa at the sukuk and how it was growing at one time. Then it has some difficulty till it was sorted out and it's on the growth stage again. But we need to, as practitioners, we need to address this risk. There are the risks associated with the changes in the life cycle of the transactions, changes according to, it might be a credit, it might be a market risk or operational risk. But I think one of the very important risks, it's more in the Islamic more than in the conventional, and that is the legal risk. Because we don't practice a one legal framework in all different part of the world where Islamic banking is applicable. All of these risks will lead to a reputational risk, which I believe that any institution is trying to have the best reputation. But if we don't address this risk, that's what will happen. I'm going to talk a little bit about the hindrance of the participatory banking in the risk management. On the risk management today, we have a different views of what type of risk appetite the customers want in dealing and transacting with participatory institutions. The risk appetite is different between the customers, the shareholders, institution, and the regulatory. This is one of the part I believe that each one has a different expectation to that, and I am coming later on to ways to address this issue. The inadequate in many places of the regulatory and legal support. In many contracts, we see that the transparency part is not as the Sharia requirement, also because of the transactions that involved in the Islamic contract, there is a higher operational cost than the lack of the report. Another very important, I think, risk is we, as a practitioner today, we don't have the minimum agreement on the standard that we need to build the future growth in Islamic banking. I believe that if we really need to grow Islamic banking worldwide, okay, we need to agree on a minimum standard, okay, that we can build after that the participatory banking future. We see different taxation rules and regulation between the countries, insufficient consumer awareness because the understanding of Islamic banking is different in many cases between the customer and what's the institutions, and understanding the technical differences between the different parts. Also, the lack of the skilled personnel. At NCB, and this is not an advertisement, I'll go very quick, but to be sustainable, we've been building a strategy about innovations in Islamic banking, building enough product to bridge the gap between what is available as a conventional and what is the available in the market, and that's what we've been trying to build that, and being a real adherence to the Sharia guidelines. I believe now is the thing that we need to develop. It's time to shift the gear to the product structuring, adapting a more holistic approach covering the roots of the participatory finance. I'm coming also to this point. Develop a legal regulatory framework, a prudential standard, develop policies and procedures, develop the IT, human capacity, and create a consumer awareness. What I believe that we need to do. Today, there are differences between a customer expectation and the institutions. The awareness of the requirement from a Islamic financial institution and Islamic economy. People are mixing between the two. I believe that we are asking a lot from the Islamic institution to adhere to the Islamic economy. What we need is to define and build a model that is accommodate. Today we have most of the Islamic deposited as a short term. If we want the Islamic banking to move into participating in developing in the development of the society, we need to have a long-term deposit. So the match of the assets and the liability is different. We need to take another look at the model we are practicing today. Okay? The model we are practicing today is giving the right structure, okay? A Sharia compliance structure, giving mainly the retail and some of the corporate customer a peace of mind of what is the minimum requirement in structuring a transaction to be a Sharia compliance that will give the customer the peace of mind. But that is not the whole benefit of the Islamic economy. Islamic economy does have the waqf, the endowment, the takaful, and it's much bigger. Islamic finance and Islamic banking is only one part. We need to take another look at what is the model we are practicing. If we need to build another specialized institutions to be able to accommodate what is requirement of the holistic view of requirement of the Islamic banking. We need to be very clear to our customers and what is their expectation and the risk they are exposed to, and to our regulatory to be clear and transparent to every body. We need, as I said, to develop the model.
2 minutes.
Okay, I will. We have a very small size institutions. We need to build on the size of the institutions. We have to move from the not only a conventional but to a Sharia really Islamic banking. I think it's very important to address Islamic banking not to be only for the Muslim. We are calling it Islamic banking, and in many places you find it that looking at targeting the Islamic community. I believe that we are bringing a solution, and to grow we need to address Islamic banking to all mankind. It brings solutions. It should be practiced by and offered to Muslims and non-Muslim, to all of them. The other thing, I think, the building the trust and the ethics. It's very important. As one banker once said, Islamic banking, it's the ethics before the mathematics. And I believe in that. And by this, I end my presentation, and I'll be glad to answer any question. And I apologize for some points that I went very quickly over it. Thank you very much.